My name is Ryan Jackson. I'm Metro Texas' #1 trap house buyer. I'm also Metro Texas' #1 provider of affordable housing. Today, I'm going to talk to you about the ins and outs of Airbnb and tell you how things are going around here for mine. Click like, click share, click subscribe. Thank you so much. All right, so let's talk about Airbnb. So believe it or not, we're actually sitting inside my personal Airbnb here in Denton, Texas. It's called the Trap House on Rose. If you go to www.airbnb.com/H for house / the Trap House on Rose, you can go ahead and take a look at it. Please put some comments down below, but take a look at my Airbnb directly and tell me what you think. We're sitting inside the podcast studio in the back and we're recording this film. Okay, so here's what I know about Airbnb. Number one, you want to be a Superhost. Like, you got to be a Superhost, because if you ain't shit unless you're a Superhost, I'm going to be honest with you. That comes out every October 1st. You got to have, meet their criteria. You got to have, great responses. You got to, make sure you respond to every message that somebody comes in. If somebody sends you a message and says thank you, you say you're welcome. You always need to have the last sentence on Airbnb. That's one you need to make sure you're good on. And number two, on Airbnb, you make sure your house is clean. If your house isn't clean, you're going to get written up, and next thing you know, you're below their standards for cleanliness and you're kicked out of the Superhost program and nobody wants to rent your stuff. I had a couple people bash me about my floors being dirty. Guess what? They're not dirty. That's just the way that the laminate looks. I made a wrong decision by putting that laminate in here that makes the floors look dirty, and I did that a long time ago when this was a single family rental, so I'm not about to rip it up. But hey, we strive really, really hard to be clean, and we strive really hard to get good reviews. So make sure that place is clean. If you got pests like roaches or something like that, or bugs, guess what? You need to get that crap out of here, because you're gonna get written up. The last thing that you want to see on your reviews is there was roaches in the house. Like, I've stayed in some Airbnbs with roaches. Like, I didn't even write them up for it because I'm cool like that, but it's not cool having those reviews for roaches. Send them a private note, send them a message, but you need to make sure that you don't have any pests, any mice, any roaches, or anything like that, because you're gonna be in big trouble with Airbnb eventually, and they're gonna kick you off the platform. There is some wrong ways, and of course there is some right ways to run your Airbnb. Like I said, cleanliness is very important. Ease of accessibility to get in and out of the house. You need to have a good check-in process where anybody can figure it out. Some of these complicated things where you got to download an app to get in, all it does is frustrate people. Technologically, dumb. So I really don't like the complicated things to get in. And then you're going to suffer on your reviews if you don't have an easy check-in process. Also, you need to have a good checkout process. As far as mine, you go through the checkout process that I have described in my message for you. But some of the other things you might want to do is you might want to include local foods, like local restaurants. Like, there's Board and Barley down the road if you like charcuterie boards. If you like pasta, check out Graffiti Pasta here in Denton. If you like elotes, go over here to Reyes Taco Truck. There's some really cool stuff over here that you need to let people know about your Airbnb, about what's local. Also, be unique. Look around the room here. We got a podcast studio. Unfortunately, somebody hotboxed this place and we ran an ozone machine in here and it killed all my purples and turned them into a darker brown. But hey, here we are. So, have some good rules and some good policies and be friendly. You start, getting into arguments with people, your reviews are going to suffer. For example, my third or fourth client that stayed here, their daughter doesn't like corporations. And what she did is she decided she stabbed my couch. And not only did she stab my couch, she stabbed my laundry soap and let it run all over the place. And then, of course, her mother's like, oh, she didn't do that. It was a tenant before. My cleaning lady is like, no, this bitch did it. So here it is. I got 3 reviews. A bad review will bring me down a tremendous amount. So I just held my L. I just said thank you. I'm sure it was a tenant before, even though I knew who it was. I was kind of pissed off about that. But anyways, it is what it is. Sometimes you just got to swallow that L to get your reviews up. And, once you have, 100 or 200 reviews, a bad review here and there is not going to kick your butt. But when you're first starting out and you're trying to build these reviews, you got to be perfect. You got to take it on the chin the best you can. Don't talk smack, just come back to them and say, yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Yeah, we'll get that fixed. Hey, we offered you an introductory price because we're new and we're trying to get the bugs worked out, and I appreciate your feedback and stuff like that. But my very first week, I think it was my third or maybe my second tenant, we allowed a cat to come in the house. Well, it was a tomcat, and it was a non-neutered tomcat. And next thing you know, the tenant checks out, and luckily for me that I didn't have anybody stay for 2 or 3 days behind her, I ran ozone machines for 3 days straight. We got go to Amazon and get some stuff called Angry Orange. We got a 5-gallon drum of that stuff. We're spraying it everywhere, trying to get the smell out, running the ozone machine and changing air filters. It was just a big freaking nightmare, but we were able to get it nice and sanitized for the next 10 in over 72 hours. But if I would have had somebody book behind her, oh man, I would have had to cancel them. And then when you cancel somebody on Airbnb, guess what? You, the host, take the ding. So you get negatively judged when you cancel somebody. So it's very important to not cancel your tenants, and you got to have a plan and ready to go. Also, have a good cleaning crew. You have to have a cleaning crew that's good. If your cleaning crew sucks, you got to fire them. You might coach them a couple times, but if your cleaning crew is isn't doing it, you got to get them out of here. It's good to come do a spot check every so often, you know, to make sure that they're cleaning the fans off, making sure there's not lipstick on the coffee cup, stuff like that, because that nobody wants to stay in a house with lipstick on the coffee cup and, you know, dust bunnies on the ceiling fans and stuff like that. Another good tip is like the lawn. My good buddy Jared Roker turned me on to this. It's called Lawn Starter. It's like the Airbnb or the Uber of lawn care. You just like get online, you enroll, you can put auto mow, auto draft or whatever, and you can turn it off and on based on your needs to your yard. So that's kind of cool. Instead of having to, you know, make the phone calls and all this stuff and get a lawn guy, just go to lawnstarter.com and, you know, just get it cut when it needs to be cut. You know, if you want to do every week or every 2 weeks, like this year here in Dallas, we didn't have any rain, you know, so it's like, why am I sending somebody over here to cut the yard when it's just yellow and dead, you know? So that's a good tip, is to have Lawn Starter. Also have someone put the trash out. If you can't get your cleaning lady, I can't get her to put the trash out on the Thursdays. And what I did is I have all these trap houses and all these different houses that I flip. I have actually collected a tremendous amount of trash cans. So I actually got them on the side behind the fence. And then what we have is like 6 or 7 trash cans. And when they get filled up, then what we do is we just send a guy over here and he puts them all in the trailer and hauls them off. So Airbnb is a great place to invest. I mean, I like the lower end of the spectrum. You know, I don't like the high end ones. You know, the $300-$400 Airbnbs are just not for me. Those things don't really stay booked in my opinion. And that might be your play. You know, you might not want somebody in your house like I want somebody in my house like every night. Here at the Trap House on Rose, we have an average of about 3 to 4 nights that are unbooked. That means the rest of them are booked. So what we do is we start dropping the prices. Like if we have, you know, an oddball day, we have say 3 nights that are booked, and then we have 1 night off or 2 nights off, and then we have the rest, you know, 4 or 5 nights booked. What we'll do is we'll come down and we'll price drop those oddball days, like a Tuesday night where nobody wants to stay there. I'll drop it down to rock bottom pricing, still include the cleaning fee and stuff, and hope somebody books it. But you know, it's one of those things you just kind of have to figure it out and just kind of play with it. But if I can figure it out, you can. Another thing that I have a team that receives, you know, all communications on the app. You know, my cleaning crew gets the communications. My virtual assistant or my executive assistant, Irvin, over in the Philippines, you know, he gets notifications on his phone whenever, you know, somebody sends a message. So the goal is to get it systematized where you don't have to manage it as much. And you know, these people that are doing like co-hosts with somebody, like that sounds good and dandy if you don't want to fuck with it. But I'll be honest with you, this shit's so damn easy that I wouldn't even go with somebody that wants to co-host. Like unless you're just like in a different city or, you know, state or something like that where you just can't flat be there, you know, it might be a good idea. But you know, if it's in your own backyard and you got boots on the ground that can support you, just do it yourself. It's not that big of a deal. But anyways, you know, Airbnb's can it be profitable? Yes. Are there legislation that comes out in municipalities? Yes. You know, like Fort Worth's got legislation. Dallas has got legislation. The city of Dallas just banned Airbnb or short-term rentals in their city. Guess what? We're going to sue them. And then we'll, you know, once we get through the lawsuit process, we'll be back in business. But, you know, for the meantime, we're having to make them into not short-term rentals, mid-term rentals, you know, such as furnished finders, you know, from traveling nurses and stuff like that. So we're having to pivot on some of those things, but, you know, just stay true to what you want to do. You know, I mean, if you really want to own an Airbnb, go get you one. You know, just make sure that in an area that allows them and you meet with the local municipalities rules and stuff like that and permits. And ignorance is bliss, but, you know, it's still your fault if you don't go and register your Airbnb with the city or something like that. So anyways, click like, click share, click subscribe. I'd love to hear your comments down below. My name is Ryan Jackson and the rent is due.